Seventh grade versus the galaxy will sound very familiar to you. The setting is a school, and the main character gets into trouble with some friends. But it ends there. Jack and his friends, their school is on an old spaceship. And the trouble they encounter? Trying to keep his dad's invention, which is a light-speed engine, out of the hands of aliens. This book is a great combination of Percy Jackson and Star Wars. If you want to read it, you can find the book on your EBSCO account through one link. Let's get started. Seventh Grade versus the Galaxy by Joshua S. Levy. Zero gravity dodgeball 3 times since Tuesday. So you know, it's the end of the year. I shuffled toward the back wall of the gym and lined up behind the rest of the class. If I ever get picked first for dodgeball, it'll mean the universe has turned upside down. Becca! Shouts Rhea Windsor, one of the team captains. Becca Pierce trots over to the other side of the gym and gives Rhea a high five that sounds like a sonic boom. I watch Rhea wince and pretend that she doesn't feel like she just slapped a brick wall. Shocker, I whisper to Ari. Becca's always first pick. Not that this bothers me, but I'm hoping I at least don't get picked last today. This has officially been the worst year of my life. And I like to get through the next few hours without being reminded again that I'm the least popular kid on board the PSS 118. Ari doesn't say a word, probably because he doesn't hear me over the thumps in his chest. He's had this cartoon crush on Becca for as long as I can remember. The kind where your heart pops out against your shirt, you go all bug-eyed for no reason, and little pink hearts float up out of your head like bubbles. It's super annoying. I don't know why he likes her so much. She kind of scares me. And during gym class, she's a freaking nightmare, literally. Once, after a really intense game of freeze tag, my dorm mate, Diego, woke up in the middle of the night covered in sweat, screaming, "No, Becca, I'm not it. Please, I'm not it." T-Bex! T-Bex! Some of our classmates cheer. Becca flashes one of her evil grins. She's tall. Maybe the tallest girl in the whole school. And a couple of years ago, Hunter LaFleur started calling her Tyrannosaurus Bex, or T-Bex for short. So naturally, she showed up to the school dance in a giant dinosaur costume. Who knows where she got that from? And shoved Hunter into the drink table. He slipped on some spilled fruit punch and broke one of his big toes when he tried to get up. They didn't even have detention in 5th grade before that day. But Becca didn't care about getting in trouble. She beamed all the way to Principal Lochner's office. And now, T-Bex isn't an insult. It's a term of respect. Can't believe we're playing dodgeball again, I tell him. What? Ari says, hypnotized by the snap-snap beat of Becca crackling her knuckles. Ordinarily, I would slap him on the back of the head to bring him to his senses, but I resist the urge. Things have been bad enough between us lately. Long story, my fault. I don't want to strain our friendship even more, especially because he's the only person who didn't start treating me differently after my dad, aka our science teacher, got fired a few months ago. So I just mutter, "Creeper alert," which Ari understands right away. Oh, he tears his eyes away from Becca. Thanks. Anyway, I was just saying that I can't believe we're playing this again. I know we're still on the same page about most things, including disliking dodgeball. Of course, Ari holds a high score in virtual dodgeball, along with every other video game I know. But the real thing, not so much. He responds, pointing to the corner of the room. Miss Needle, who teaches mismatched things like PE, music, art, and Spanish, and dresses like she's getting ready for all those classes at once, is lost in some old-timey paper book that she must have checked out from the special library on series. There's nothing else she can get us to play on the last day of school without having to yell. I nod. Can't blame Miss Needle for being a little burned out. I'd be too if I was an underpaid public school teacher who spent 9 months of the year living with my whiny students on board a rundown spaceship. My dad used to say that it's the most rewarding job in the solar system. But my dad's also a liar. And second, Ari adds, dodgeball isn't my favorite either, but don't jinx yourself by complaining. It's bad luck. The ball will for sure knock out your teeth or something. That's Ari. Something practical and smart, because he's brilliant, immediately followed by something ridiculous and superstitious because, and I've never been totally clear on this, maybe he also believes in magic, but he's right about one thing. I don't need any more bad luck. Come on! Hunter shouts at the captains. We're not going to have enough time! Okay. Rhea groans, rubbing her forehead. She's clearly having trouble picking between the only two choices left. Unlike Becca, Ari and I are short and scrawny. Ari has giant dark hair that always looks like he just finished electrocuting himself. And considering his habit of tinkering with every machine he can get his hands on, he sometimes really has just finished electrocuting himself. I have super freckly skin and eyes that I've always thought are a little too big for my face. You'd know just by looking at us that we aren't the next all Jupiter athletes in the making. Fine, Rhea says, throwing up her hands. I guess I pick Ari. I sigh. The other captain doesn't bother to call my name, even for the ceremony of it. He just glares at me and shrugs. Thwack! Becca is in one of her frenzies. It's not easy to throw in zero gravity, but Becca manages just fine. She hurls a ball at Gina Korematsu so hard that it actually hits Gina's stomach and bounces directly back into Becca's hands so she can have another go. Gina flies over to the sidelines, spinning out of control. Becca kicks off the wall and rockets across the room. Halfway to the other side, she fakes the ball at Hunter's head. And Hunter, 20 feet up in the air, curls up like a scared hedgehog. But as Becca crosses Hunter, she just taunts him with a wave and a smile. People would probably be more upset about Becca hogging the ball if we weren't all so busy keeping away from her. Like the rest of our school, the gym is nothing special. Correction, it's unspecial. Subspecial. It's about the size of a basketball court, with cricket baskets attached to the roof at each end, and bleachers on one side that used to fall down onto the floor, but have been stuck half open for 2 years. Principal Lochner likes to joke that the money to fix the bleachers should come in any day now. Because, like most of the other public school ships orbiting Jupiter's moons, we're basically broke. Check out the PE supply closet. Busted hockey sticks, useless tug-of-war bungee straps, torn jump ropes tied together, and a stack of orange cones that look like they've been blasted through the thickest part of the Kuiper belt. This dodgeball is our last ball. We use it for dodgeball, kickball, volleyball, basketball, and a very frustrating version of touch football. Trying to avoid getting hit, Cal Brown instead gets caught up in one of the Go Champions banners that dangles from the ceiling. Everyone laughs, and not only because Cal is klutz. Since none of our teams has ever won even a single championship for any sport, even with Becca leading the pack, the school's nickname has turned into a bitter inside joke. Becca spits into her hands and rubs them together to improve her grip, which is even grosser thing to do in 0G than normal. Ari stops to stare at her like she's a glowing angel dancing in slow motion. Thwack, thwack, thwack. Becca does her signature move. She smacks a ball into a steady spin and holds a finger an inch or two underneath it, like she's levitating it with her mind. More than a little distracted today, I fail to immediately notice that I'm the only one left on my team. You ready for the pain, Graham? Becca asks. The class is buzzing. Jack Graham is no match for a roaring T-Bex hunting its prey. Okay, fine by me. There's plenty of time for a second game, which I plan to actually pay attention to just enough to get out toward the beginning and spend the rest of the period hovering alone in the corner. But as the ball shoots towards me like a laser bolt, some uncontrollable instinct takes over, and I flail my arms up to block it. To be fair, I'm pretty sure that had it hit my stomach, it would have done permanent damage to my kidneys, so I make a fist, strike the ball, and smack it down toward the bleachers where it hits the edge of one of the long benches, and somehow, bang! The ball pops, leaving behind a sad rubber pancake floating in the air. Oh, Ari was right. I shouldn't have jinxed it. Just like our ball, our very last ball, the room explodes. Come on! You had to try, didn't you? Worst game ever. You should have gone home with your dad. At that last comment, the gym goes silent, and I flinch worse than when the dodgeball was barreling toward me. It would have been less painful if I let it crush my internal organs. I shut my eyes tight and try to push down the urge to flee the gym, run to my dorm, and never come out. I just wanted to get through one day without having to hear someone mention my dad. I haven't seen him in months, and part of me doesn't want to see him ever again. Of course, it's the last day of school, so this afternoon I'll be on a shuttle heading down to Ganymede, and I'll have to spend the whole summer with him. I would have preferred a few hours of peace, a few hours of flying under the radar, before having to deal with all that. Sure, it's been a little weird to be a teacher's kid, but I was never an outcast before, and my dad wasn't just a science teacher. He's a legit scientist with a PhD from the University of California, Europa. The other kids actually thought he was cool, which made me cool by extension. He could have kept his cushy job at NASA, but he decided to teach middle school science on a public school ship instead because he believed in the importance of public education and was passionate about teaching the next generation and wanted to spend more time with his son. And lots of other things I'd also put in quotes because I don't believe them anymore. And sure, life wasn't perfect, especially after my parents got divorced and my mom moved all the way to Earth. But I was reasonably popular. I was smart. Okay, fine, but I used to get B's. Do you hear me? B's. And I was happy. But then my dear old dad went and got himself fired right after winter break, and things got bad. Like, Jack, these nice people from the Department of Homeland Security have a few questions for you about your father. Bad. And that was only the beginning of my problems. Miss Needle! Someone shouts, Miss Needle! Floating around by the emergency exit sign, she looks up from her book at what's left of the ball, sees everyone staring at me, and sighs. Well, accidents happen, she says too sweetly, like she's talking to a dying puppy. I'm afraid she might fly over to me and scratch behind my ears. It's in her eyes. and in her voice. Poor little Jack Graham has been through enough already. She was friends with my dad before he was kicked off the ship, and still hasn't said a word about him. But I don't know what makes me feel worse, the kids who hate me or the adults who feel sorry for me. She pulls herself over to the nearest control panel, presses an open hand against the scanner, and lets it read her palm and fingerprints. Welcome, Argentina Needle, the computer says in its whiny, nasally voice. Kids get tired already? As AIs go, ours can be a little sarcastic. No, the class groans. It's time to go anyway, Miss Needle says, even though it's not. Ship, re-engage the gym's gravity. Got it, says the ship. Teacher got tired already. And we all start floating back down to the floor, even though there are 15 whole minutes left of the period. I look into a few faces and know exactly what they're thinking. One more thing ruined by the Graham family. Could this day get any worse? I hope you enjoyed the story, and don't forget, you can check it out at EBSCO Host through your OneLink account.